I'm not perfect. You know, there's some days where my connection to my ancestral intelligence is not so strong. Like my
100%.
Wi-Fi is disconnected.
And there's a perception of a confident woman, and then you meet eye to eye and you're like, hello, are you there? Until I kind of had a moment where I said, enough. Like, I'm not going to chase this pain down with anything other than the truth.
Wholeness and love, family, and welcome back to another episode of Conscious Educators, the heart-centered classroom. We are here with our very first, me and Mike have been trying to plan this for a while, but finally we're able to bring a phenomenal and divine human being to support us on this journey of really uplifting the principles of what we believe in around embodiment, transformation, and awakening. We are honored to be in conversation with a visionary leader, an educator, a community builder, a phenomenal singer, a sound bowl playing guru, former member of Conscious Youth Development and Service, and also the founder of The Well, Miss Jamie Coppa. So let's give a nice little, if we had some studio background noise, clap it up, man. But she really focuses on supporting intentional spaces that support parents and families in early childhood education. And what I truly have fell in love with is the Montessori learning method. And that is a crucial component that I believe really supports the holistic well-being of our students. So Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling this morning, evening, afternoon?
I want to make I'm a forever member of KYDS.
Yes, she is.
Absolutely love the organization and everything that they do. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel wonderful. I was able to get up nice and early, get to the water, take a nice walk, get a little grounding in, and just some nourishment, and I'm excited to be here.
You like glowing today. You know what I'm saying? It must be that inner light, though. But
little sunshine goes a long way.
in our formal, before we go into our formal check-in, I would love to give my gratitude and appreciation for you taking the time to join us out here, but also gratitude and appreciation because Ms. Jamie is a volunteer entrepreneur for our Conscious Leadership and Entrepreneurship, and we truly appreciate you. We care about you and eternally love you as a supporter for all of my children, you know, within their early childhood space. It is truly an honor and privilege. So my gratitude to Ms. Jamie and everyone listening. But to make this more in the style of how we do it, what's your weather report today? Are you cloudy, sunny, stormy? And tell me why.
I feel good. I feel sunny. I feel really bright and light. And I think a large part of that is just making the intention to get outside nice and early. Before I looked at the phone, before I had a sip of coffee, just getting to the beach, picking up some shells, taking a moment of pause, and really looking forward to this warmer weather because it is a wonderful way to instill a little bit of a morning practice prior to jumping into all that there is with the work that we do. Yeah,
and the work that you do is powerful and it's interesting. What you just shared, like, you know, it's not easy to be grounded in this chaos, but we find ways to kind of push through and make it happen.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna dive right into this.
Let's
because
do it.
this episode is not about ourselves, Mychal, right? This is really about us bringing to you, our audience, to really learn about this powerful human being that I'm grateful to say is a friend. So let's start this off to really speak about, like, what called you to work with young children, and was there a pivotal moment or realization that led you to the Montessori education? Please share with me.
Absolutely. So I've always loved the idea of working with children. I think formative to my work was my own life experience. I remember being a young girl and lining up my little animals and wanting to teach them and educate. And I also stood in front of my mirror and sung some songs. So in the, when you think about the Alchemist, I am very blessed to be living my personal legend in a way. Could always be tweaked. But I went to school for elementary education many, many moons ago. And after stepping into the classroom during my practicum, I recognized and felt that it wasn't exactly the model of education that I was intending to give my work to, give my time to. So I wound up going on a journey of self-discovery for many, many years, traveling, creating art, my music, and a holistic health journey as well to really clear and cleanse and purge some of those tougher life experiences, which I'm sure we get into all of that. And when it was time for me to come back to the education piece, to step into the classroom and work with families, I was seeking out other alternative models, and Montessori really just hit home for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And even as you were sharing, when you stepped into the classroom, like we often hear from so many educators from various schools, was it a feeling? Can you describe, what was it that really clarified to you that this is not the environment that truly resonates with my spirit?
Absolutely. There's two parts to that. I feel that in the education that I was seeing, this is back in 2011, I was down in South Carolina. So again, it's almost like a different culture. I did not feel or see that the emotional needs of the children in the classroom were being met.
Yeah.
There was a lot of medication being given to 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds.
Even more now.
Yes, absolutely. And at the time, South Carolina, I believe, was the second most prescribed state in the country.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
it was something that was really blaring out to me, and I noticed that, and I saw the change in the behavior of those children. And so it made me question what I was a part of by remaining in that system down in the South, or even coming up here and lending my educational background to this area. So it sent me on a quest to kind of figure out what the right education looked like. And then, I think that pretty much sums up. That was a large part of it.
And that's good to see, because I know often as educators, we may not always find the words, but we could hear the voice of others share their experience. You're kind of like, oh yeah, that's it. And
another piece, I'm realizing, the other little piece there was, what did I have to offer these children at 22 years old? I was in a room full of just about 36, 7, and 8-year-olds, around 7 or 8-year-olds. And I was very childish in a lot of my own behavior at that time. I just came off of college, out of college.
Girl, don't tell me about it.
I wasn't in integrity with a lot of what needed to be looked at, seen, and felt by me personally in order to come back and be the educator that I'm able to embody today. And so that sent me on the quest of self-discovery. And that was imperative to be able to be where we are now, and to offer what I'm offering now was deep work on self before I was able to stand in front of a room and hold that net for the most vulnerable people, our children.
Yeah. Nah, this is beautiful. I'm going to slightly pivot from my original questions, because it just sparked in my mind. But I think when we first crossed paths, we kind of found you in a moment of you really being in the center of that transformational journey. I can remember at our Danny Clinch fundraiser, you sitting in the front row, sipping on some kind of green juice or matcha, and just your energy was just very inviting and just friendly, and we were always kind of crossing paths, and seeing you at Seed to Sprout. I remember you giving me your album. I played it on the way home, and I was like, oh, this is something special about. I didn't even know you, but I can feel that in the frequency of your voice, and you just kept this popping up in her life, and life was like, maybe she could be a part of this work. We were just new, trying to find ways to fill up all the schools of Asbury Park, and being in a point of your journey, I don't know exactly where it was, but also being able to embody that experience with kids working in a school-based program. Can you just share, what was that experience? Did that support your evolution? What did that kind of teach you as it prepared you for the transformation and I call the Phoenix rising of your work going into the Montessori world?
I think actually it's the sharpening of the skills by being in such incredible environments, truly. I think it's to be an understatement to say that these are some of the wisest, most emotionally intelligent children, because they've had to endure naturally in their environments and through so many different elements of the way that things are designed.
Yeah.
These children are very wise, and you're not going to walk into a room and fool these children. You need to.
There were days we tried.
Yeah. But they're going to hold you to a standard, and they're going to see you, and they're going to see you for who you are, and not at first, of course, they're going to see the differences naturally, but over time they're going to see and sense the heart of a person. And I think by having to rise into integrity to show up in those spaces and honor those children as a conscious youth worker or conscious worker was incredible for me. It was a challenging experience. There were days where I left and I cried, not because the children had done anything to me, but just because of some of the things that they had expressed and shared with me that hurt me, or I could feel their hurts, or maybe there were some things that took place that I didn't handle the best I could have.
Yeah.
And so it really pushed me to step into a different layer of integrity within myself. And it's formative to my work, because I recognize over time, that I lend my time and my energy to vulnerable populations, people that I feel that I can make the most impact. And
Yeah.
those schools and are your organization, the wonderful organization that you
Our
have,
organization. But I would say, like,
is where I want to be. You know?
yeah. Honestly, like, because me and Jamie work very closely with each other. We had 5 schools that we were operating out of, but me and Miss Jamie were in the high school together, and we were also in the elementary school together. And like, this is what shows me, like, you know, although it's a predominantly school of African Americans and you may not match the race, but the heart that you walked into the building with each and every day transcended any illusion of the color that would make us different on our skin. And I would say that what made me really appreciate you the most, because you had a deep compassion and care for the well-being of those children, and it was more than just work for you. This was just, I was like, this is part of her purpose. Whether she's here with us and kids, we were just blessed to have her on this journey that led you to who you are now. But before I go into the well, what was one of the best memories you had being in the school? Because I can think about a few, from the Miss Pringles class coming into our room to the moments in the high school but what is something that really stands out in your heart before we transition into? Gosh,
there are so many amazing moments. I mean, if I close my eyes and think back to that time, I could just walk into, Brock, the elementary school, and just have all of these beautiful children yelling your name and asking you to take them out of class that day, like vying to spend some time and to connect and to do the breath and to do the yoga. And so I would say definitely some of those, just part of the day-to-day of that work was really the gem, the magic.
Moments.
Yeah, and just a few of their little faces, a few of the connections that I was able to make in that time still stand out to me. And it's been so amazing to see them as teenagers back at the open mics.
Yeah.
And to get to connect with them all these years later. They're now, some of those children are in high school.
Yep. Saw them today.
And moving on. Yeah, like really amazing.
I'm like, man, they're all freshmen and sophomore now. What a journey. And, we're grateful that we had you during that time. And it was beautiful as we were all in this space of learning more about Montessori, and you went full throttle into taking this is one of the realest Montessori certifications, the AMI certification, because you can use Montessori as a name, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the certifications that really express the essence. And what I love about it, when I read about the Montessori philosophy, when it was introduced to me, and working in schools for already a 5-6 year period, the first thing that came into my mind was, this preserves the soul of the child.
Absolutely.
It keeps the natural rhythm in it. Where schools like, here's a cookie cutter, everyone is going to be shaped in this way, this is how I do it. Where Montessori is, you tell me what cookie cutter that you want to be.
Yeah.
How do we focus? So tell me a little bit more about what resonated with you most about this approach and how it kind of differs from the conventional early childhood education that you received in the start of your career.
Beautiful, yes. Going back to my what I had shared about my practicum and my work in South Carolina, where I felt that these emotional needs of the children were not being met, when I started to dive into the Montessori work and Montessori theory, and actually read her books and listened to her lectures, she speaks often about the psychic embryo. It's often left out in this modern Montessori, and that's something that I see myself wanting to touch on in the future here, the very near future. But, a lot of Montessori, too, even with AMI, is very much like you'll find a lot of type A Montessori teachers, and respect to them, because they're going to give those lessons, and your child is going to flourish in those environments through their diligence.
Yeah.
But there's also the other part. Maria Montessori said that the environment is 2-part. It's both the physical environment and the human environment. And so after having gone on a journey and traveled the country many times and put the records out and gotten to work with you guys and do all of this heart-centered work, when I read up on her theory and I understood that she put the child centric to the work, that their heart, the heart-led approach, but also just the recognition that children come to us pure, beautiful, and whole. And it's our job to move out of the way, observe that child, and then support them, help me to help myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's work that we're doing that's parallel to the accelerator program or the business program with the middle school children. Help me to help myself. So I love that. And that was some of the really profound pieces that I pulled from her work that made me feel that was definitely the path forward.
Yeah, no, that is powerful, and really helping one gain that perspective and even recognizing the layers in this current iteration of Montessori that is kind of like the books in the Bible that are hidden, but since you mentioned it, can you just give a little insight of what is the psychic embryo? You know, what was her perspective on that aspect of it?
Just the psychic embryo being that this child is, you know, more or less psychic, that this child from birth, from conception, has an ability and is wide open to all. And so that we are the ones over time through our rules and regulations and, you know, we treat the child in a certain way at our own will versus allowing the child's will to lead and for us to support them in their own discovery. And so they're open. We have a lot to learn from children versus being the ones that are putting tons of, you know, toys and books and filling the child's schedule, recognizing that it's in the space that the child learns. It's in the boredom that children learn. And so we need to go back, we need to scale it back a little bit and really start to look at what we're offering and if it's really supportive to the child or if it's supporting our own ideas of what the child needs.
Yeah.
The child will show us what they need to, you know, and we need to find that balance.
Oh, I love that. And we were just talking in our previous episode about a way to access the original AI, ancestral intelligence, is, you know, we have to develop our intuition. We have to develop self-awareness. We need to be self-regulated. And it seems from the nature of how children are born, these qualities are already innate within them. They are connected to that realm. So it's really helping us not do any damage to the Creator's perfected creation. And it really has helped me as a parent where it's like, I know parents can relate. Like, it's so easy to give your child a tablet, so easy to put the TV on. But I've learned through Montessori is like my kids have not even seen a movie yet. And my son's 6, 3, and 0 years old. But the boredom that he complains about, I see him create the most beautiful, sometimes destructive to our house ideas. But that would never happen if I didn't allow him to be bored and if I didn't have the regulation to deal with him when he's trying to distract me if I'm doing any kind of work. But it really is worth it, and having those principles has made me a better father. And I'm not a perfect master Montessori individual, but it really has supported me. And being in your parent-child system from the original iteration to Lily to even present day now, like hearing my wife come back and just really appreciating being in those spaces with people who can relate and are on a similar journey, it's powerful. So let's move into the space that you created for transformation, the Well. And it's not a school, it's an early childhood learning center, or it's a space for deep connection and community. My kids, I took them to a couple of yoga classes. I had to fight them to get there for the sound bowl. Now my kids are at home singing the affirmations and mantras. Since I'm the yogi and sometimes they don't want to follow what daddy do, sometimes you have to lean on community. So tell me, can you share how the vision of the Well came to life and how you see it serving families beyond education? And look at some of the little kiddies from the Montessori school.
That's so great,
right on divine time. But tell me how to come to life and what is your vision of how you look to serve the community in your realm?
Beautiful. So I mean, as Rodney had mentioned, I was part of, when I first stepped into Montessori, I was part of a wonderful organization, Wildflower, and I was part of a very small team that had done Lily Montessori, which is offering Montessori parent-child classes where we were able to have families come into the space and provide them with the environment and then show them how we would implement the method in our space. And a lot of that includes the practical life pieces, watering plants and caring for the environment and prepping food. And so it gives them ideas and sparks that creativity of how can I incorporate my child at home? And so although that was a beautiful journey and a wonderful journey, I recognized through the skill of observation, which is through Montessori and understanding that families really need a little bit more. Although the Montessori method was incredible in that it was providing them ideas and it was definitely shaping the way that they might be showing up in that parent and child relationship, I think that families needed a place to land. They wanted some things that maybe Montessori wasn't what they thought they needed or what they wanted. And so I wanted to expand upon that. And I think in being true to myself as well, knowing that Montessori tends to have a more, like I said, type A, I wanted to ensure that it had a little bit of soul. And so for me, that was making sure that I did incorporate my voice and the singing, that we did get some other wonderful practitioners in there, that we started to offer unique things like the children's Kundalini and chanting and singing clubs, and just make sure that it evolved as I evolved as an educator and a person. And I think that's really how the Well came to be. community center, a net for families, for education, and definitely having an under theme of holistic wellness.
Yeah.
Incorporated in all of our programs.
And when you were sharing that, it really just came to my mind as like, I wanted to make this more whole.
Yeah.
Like the parent-child classes were great, but I observed there was a need for more, because a dysregulated adult is never going to regulate a dysregulated child. So
100%.
how we, and Chris, I used to come into some, she always asks me, but I'm like, I see how beneficial it is for the moms.
Yes,
and
especially that baby class.
The baby class. I'd be in a few, and I was like, oh, it was a very nourishing and rich space. But I was like, I see, baby, this is really beneficial and important for the ladies. So I think it's powerful, and I can speak from my direct experience, the blessing and beauty it is. And you describe the well as a deep and open space that nourishes all who enter, right? So one, how did the name The Well come to life? And two, what are some of the transformations you have been able to witness in that space?
So knowing that I wanted to potentially see this space transition into something new, I took some time away. I actually did a 200-hour and just really spent a couple months in that, mulling in the valley, trying to sort out.
You traveled away for that.
I did.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and I needed that moment. And in my time in Guatemala, I was sitting there and I really was thinking through some ideas, and the well came to mind. I love water. I love water. Water is so life-giving. And I thought a well is a place that women would go, families would go to gather to get a life-giving resource. So it just really clicked for me that might be a wonderful way to describe the essence of what I was trying to convey in that project, in this work.
So stillness was a cataclysm, an environment where you can connect to your inner wisdom, produce the expression of. Now that's beautiful, and I think that's important as we go on these journeys. We just want to create things and just run to business. Yeah. But I think what you just shared, that space of going away, may not be 200 hours, right, or 30 days, but you have the space to really get clarity on that. Okay, now tell me about some of the transformation that you enjoy, or like some of the things that you have noticed within the parents or the youth that you have supported over the years in that space.
Well, I think most recently, definitely something that comes to mind is this, we've gotten this kids Kundalini going, these after school programs and the kids singing club. And again, everything that I feel that I'm doing is going into spaces, observing what's going on in that space, and then seeing where there's a necessary change to occur. And so the well was formed that way, and these programs have been offered that way. So the children were looking for some song during the Kundalini, and we started to do some chanting there. And I think just hearing the feedback from parents whose children have attended, their teacher at school says they're singing Om Namo in the hallways, and I hear them singing it in the shower, and they want us to sing as a family before bed. And when you think about how beautiful it is that these children are chanting these sacred mantras, that they might be bringing them a little bit more peace, a little bit more attunement, a little bit more resolve as they face the necessary challenges that we're all facing as we step out our doors each day. It's been a huge pleasure. It's been such a gift to hear that feedback. Also, just seeing all of the amazing friendships formed in the well. I think it's one of the most understated aspects of the space, but women and even gentlemen, fathers, come to this space as new parents in a new chapter of their lives. And oftentimes they don't know where to turn, and they're looking for their tribe, so to speak. Yeah. And by meeting other women on the journey with children at a similar developmental stage, I've seen so many beautiful relationships bud and form through these connections, through these classes. So I would say that's also been an incredible aspect. And then another little piece that comes to mind is in Montessori, we talk about this child that is slow to warm. Oftentimes we label children, but slow to warm is such a rewarding experience for an educator. It's a child that I know needs a moment to warm up. They're new to a space. This is not the child that's going to go to every relative at the holiday, and they're not going to run up to folks or wave to every stranger in the coffee shop. And honoring that child and honoring that spirit, I say these children have a great curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism. And so I absolutely love these children. I know how to understand and work with their needs. So I work with the parent primarily first, eye contact, shaking of hands, gentle touch, and I allow for that relationship to move over time. The several times that a child of this nature has reached out to hold my hand after a few weeks together or a series of classes and their mom cried or I shed a tear is too many to count, because it took a moment and it was definitely worthwhile. But there's a lot of programs where you jump in and it's very stimulating, and they're not ready for, they're not interested in that. And we don't want them to recoil. And so I feel like the space lends itself to the children walking in and looking around and saying, oh, this is for me.
Yeah.
And that's a primary part of this method in my house. Am I incorporating my child in a way that they feel that they are a valued member of this family? Is there a hook for their coat? Is there a stepping stool for them to get to this countertop? Can they access the sink without my help? Is there a spout where they could just grab a little bit of water? These are really minor but very profound things that allow the child to sense, see, and feel that they're valued. And when we provide children with the understanding that they're valued in our homes, they feel like a valued member of society. So in Montessori, we say to be, to become, to belong. And every human wants to belong.
You know, man, that's beautifully said. And even as you're sharing, like, I think those values and principles even transcend beyond just the Montessori room, because we go to so many different schools and so many different classrooms and so many different environments where I think those principles hold true all the way up to high school. You know, that warming up period, that observation, that eye contact, creating the space. I mean, like when you're saying that, like, oh, we're building rapport, we're building trust.
Absolutely.
We're building connection, so that way you can put down the mask at a pace that is comfortable for you. And I think sometimes in the rat race of just demand of the education system, we're not able to ground ourselves in these principles that I don't think is just, she probably noticed that through her deep observation,
100%.
But in human relation, these qualities, even in friendships, you know what I'm saying? In relationships, honey boo boo. And yes, my kids, I call my son, he always fighting me, talking about, I don't want to go, take me home. And he put a little on. And then one day I caught him singing in the kitchen. And I was like, oh man. And I know that chant is more than just the words. It's a connection to something greater within himself. And then he's like, hey, daddy, are we going to class today? And I was like, man, okay. So that shows that warming up period of having that. So that is beautiful. Thank you for that dive into the Montessori realm. Now I'm going to reverse this, because you are a human, a leader. And as educators and leaders, we recognize we're always holding space for everybody around us. But how do you ensure you are holding space for yourself? What are the practices that you embody that help keep you grounded? I
think through my own journey, I very much understand that nourishment, nutrition is foundational to my well-being.
Stay with them broths. I know you got that.
Yeah, the broth,
cooking.
Definitely cooking at home, ensuring that I'm having nutrition in my life on a daily basis, whether that's, even if that's grabbing a green juice next door, if I'm not able to prepare that day, but keeping that as a baseline for foundational health. Sauna. I'm very big on my practices in terms of
cryo
and the sauna, and making sure I'm getting outside for a walk after dinner. Things like that are definitely very helpful. But I think most importantly, when we're talking about taking care of the soul, the person beyond the person, right? The one that's out here doing all of this work, taking care of my spirit. I do sound healing in the evening sometimes at my space. And so I will put the chimes on and relax in the dark, in the quiet, and allow myself to access the deeper layers of self and just see what comes up. And I think that I could do it more often, but I ensure that I have some time and some space to do that on a regular basis.
Yeah, enough charge to fuel the children, the parents, and the energy that is coming back. And it is real. You know, even healers need healing too. You know, and we always give it out, but it's good to see and to prioritize, like the oxygen mask line. You know, put yours on before you put in someone else's, because you will end up passing out or breaking down, and now the community can't even utilize you as 100%. A vessel for transformation. So appreciate that. Now, you wear many hats. Educator, you mentioned, sound healer, you got your yogi, you are entrepreneur, you a singer, you know what I'm saying? Many talents. So how do you balance all these different roles while still honoring the evolution of Jamie? Like, what is is it that helps you? Because this entrepreneur life is, it looks so great and freeing, which it is a blessing, but there aren't really days off.
No.
You can always do something, but how do you do a great job? Sometimes you feel like your head is on the shoulder. Sometimes you feel like the head is still in the previous
100%.
room. But what has helped you navigate and balance all these different roles to really work for Jamie?
I think a lot of it is mindset and the approach to how to work with and understand self that allows for me to step out and to offer this work consistently and at such a high level in terms of so many different hats and so many different projects and things. I think that it's also recognizing too, like giving myself that acknowledgement that the capacity is there. It's not for everybody. And it's been a challenge, and it's definitely invited me to be in integrity and deeper layers of self, but to just honor the capacity that is there. And I think that the capacity is there because of the impact. I think the capacity is there because of knowing the work. And there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with doing heart-centered work. There's many nights where, you are out and in the community and offering things to ensure that you're showing up for these vulnerable populations. And I think that when I go to sleep at night, I just feel this warmth, I feel a genuine warmth, and I feel like we're young, but I feel that we have definitely put our best foot forward and our hearts out to be shared. And I think that that's definitely fuel in and of itself. The gratitude and connection that you feel and share when you step into these spaces. I do sound baths and clinics as well on a regular basis in mental health and detox centers. And many of these people have never been exposed to sound healing at all. And so to have the opportunity to sing and share soulful hymns with them and offer the crystal bowls in their first 30 days of recovery is something that I could never quantify. I could never really convey. It's just something to be experienced. And I often drive home from there in complete silence, probably smiling ear to ear.
I can see
because I can feel the love. Yeah. And they feel it from me and I feel it from them. And it's this beautiful connection. And I think, like you said, or like earlier, I really do love humans. I feel like when I've tried to get to the root of what it is that I'm doing, it's just a deep, genuine love and compassion for my fellow man, and wanting to use all of my time and power and resources to ensure that I can turn on as many little light switches or bring a little bit of hope when someone feels hopeless. I mean, this is what I live for. This is what my core value, and it's fun to play with all the other parts around that, but that's really the core of it.
No, that is beautiful. And because I know it's not easy. Like even though we have these businesses and organizations, we still have bills to pay. But I feel like when you are giving so much from your heart, there's a currency that goes beyond. Like we need the money. You know what I'm saying? We gotta eat.
For sure.
But there's a currency that like keeps this mission going when you give from that, selfless space. And like even what you just mentioned, it brought me back to when me and Mike would work our 9 to 5. We would come off our 9 to 5, pick up the van, go pick up these 15, 20 kids on this van, do our summer camp, and my wife would be like, man, you got to work up, you get home at 10 o'clock, staying up till 1 or 2, doing the things I got to do for my job and the kids, and wake up the next day doing it again. But like that gratitude, that satisfaction of even the residual income is like when you see these kids 2, 3, 4 years later, and they're just like, oh, the product, it's like the thank you's like, oh, I'm still cashing in
100%.
On that investment. And I think that is fuel that gives our spirits the fuel that it needs to continue to serve in this capacity, getting smarter, still working hard, but recognizing this is a necessary part of the refinement of us as human beings.
Absolutely.
As we continue to evolve.
And you said it's spirit. It's not, in our human lives, we show up and we do all of these things, but that the work that you do is touching and supporting the spirit of other human beings. And, it's not a cliche. It's the healing is in the helping, and so it's also been a journey of healing and self-discovery when we offer these different things. And so, just love that. I feel like it's soul work.
I'm gonna pick up off of that too, man. And Brother Mychal, he had to step away, but he always say, hurt people hurt other people, hurting people hurts, but healed people heal other people, and healing people heals. And I could attest from my own personal journey, like, man, when I poured into the youth as a youth development specialist, they thought I was just helping them. I'm like, little did they know, they were helping me heal.
Absolutely.
So how do you relate to that concept as you're doing this work and supporting others? How has that been in return, helping it support your healing and growth as a leader in this world?
I mean, no human is immune to doubts, and no human is immune to the stressors of life, and no human is immune to the challenges. And we look back in even ancient yogic texts, and I always tell the folks in the detox center when I go in, because I say, I bet that someone in here told you that you should look into meditation. You should have a meditation practice. I said, let me frame it for you this way. I think in the Upanishads, don't quote me. In one of the,
you got it, girl.
In one of the ancient texts, they mention how these yogis would do rigorous asana for 12 hours a day, I think, something like of that nature, so that they could sit under the tree for 1 hour in peace. And so I offer that to them and say, listen, I'm going to offer you sound healing tonight. And what's so beautiful about that is that it's going to support the dropping of the brainwave into theta. It's going to have a physiological effect that allows us to get a little closer to the heart and create that coherence. And so from there, we'll begin the process of checking in and starting a meditation practice. And I think that it's just like the baby steps, and offering that to them has been amazing.
Yeah. It's a feeling that you can't really articulate, but you have to be in that body to feel.
Yeah.
So, okay, man, here at Kids, man, one thing we do in really helping these educators connect back to their deeper wisdom is we recognize how authenticity and vulnerability are necessary aspects of this journey. And we believe that every transformative leader, human being, is going to have a crucible moment. A challenge that forever shapes their leadership and purpose, that really kind of gives you the guidance, like, okay, this is what life had to put me through to become who I am destined to be. Now, from the heart and your space of vulnerability, what is one defining moment that forced you to evolve into a stronger version of yourself? Beautiful.
I think I would have to say losing my father at a young age is definitely a massive shift. It encouraged me, definitely, strongly, to grow up pretty fast and to start to take on some heavier themes in terms of mortality and death and loss. And I think that was a crucible moment for me. I think that was formative to a lot of my path forward from that point, until I kind of had a moment where I said, enough. Like, I'm not going to chase this pain down with anything other than the truth. And I need to be in a different state. And so, that I'd say my father's, and then the other piece to that connects is just around that 22, 23, where I just had a hard look in the mirror and realized that the way that I was doing things wasn't really serving me. And so I went on a health journey. And it was a physical detox that I initiated through some herbs and some really strong supplements and juicing and all of that. But it wound up being a multi-layered experience, because where I had a physical cleansing and purging, I felt deeply the emotional and the mental purge as well, and the space that it created for me. So I would definitely say that was a catalyst moment. And I feel like that was a real spark for me, a real awakening of sorts. And from that point forward, everything that you see now is from that moment in time when I made that choice, that strong choice. Like, there's no turning back. I can't do this, so it has to be different. And I was able to really hone in and make a big switch and be consistent.
Yeah,
that was big.
And I remember when you first shared that with me, and it's like my mind is kind of correlated. Like, you were always open, and that's one thing I'll say when I always appreciate. You were always open, authentic, and vulnerable. But hearing you share the loss of your father now, like, I can sense and feel the strength in your voice, the groundedness that wasn't as potent when I remember you first sharing this with me back in like 2019. So I'm curious, what helped you build a strong enough container to hold the capacity of the emotions that come from loss to really allow you to stand stronger in your presence?
I think that it's, again, like one of my biggest beliefs is that we experience things as human beings in different capacities and on a pendulum. And so having this understanding that, as deeply and as rough as the pendulum had swung to one side through this sea and ocean of grief and loss, was an equal and opposite, ability for love and that presence and joy, and just kind of sensing and seeing and feeling all of what life has to offer us, being more of an observer to this journey versus trying to understand everything, knowing that, these are the questions of life and it's a lifelong journey. I think there's also some very human aspects in there, like the pride and the joy of being his daughter and wanting to be here in this moment. And also just an awareness on time, an awareness of our own, mortality, knowing that this beautiful dance doesn't last forever. How do I want to show up here, and who do I want to be? My sorrow and my grief, by allowing that to be in the forefront of my decisions, wasn't leading me anywhere that felt good. And so I wanted to honor that. I think a lot of inner child work, a lot of work on understanding her needs and wanting to be present for her, being the loving mother. Yeah. And embodying the loving mother archetype, where I felt that I had missed that. And in the loss of my father, and maybe had a tough mom, love my mom. But I needed to be that loving mother to myself. And then the reparenting and supporting that journey has ultimately been a simultaneous journey to being that loving presence for young children, and in all of the work that I'm able to do.
Yeah, because how can I love a child on the outside if I'm not loving the child on the inside?
Absolutely.
So I'm hearing you sharing the principles of impermanence have really gave clarity on recognizing the temporariness, the Maya of this reality. 100%. But also I like what you mentioned about that inner child work of really healing that younger version of you to stand strong in the power of you are. And one thing that we love to talk about is the work by Dr. Lisa Miller and what she does around the awakened brain. And, and what I love about her work is not the insights that she's sharing, because these insights have been shared through all these wisdom books, but you can't bring a Gita to school. You can't bring the book of Coming Forth into school, but I can bring Dr. Lisa Miller. And she speaks about awakened awareness and really looking about not why is life doing this to me, but what is life trying to show me?
Absolutely.
What is life preparing me for? And you have gone through iterations. I believe we go through that cocoon, the caterpillar, the cocoon, and the butterfly stages infinitely on this journey of life. So currently at this stage of your journey, who is Jamie awakening into now through this work? And if you had to describe the version of yourself that is emerging, what words would you have access to? Well, let me take that back. How would you describe who you're awakening into? From what life is showing you, from what you experienced in your childhood to present moment right now, who do you see Miss Jamie awakening into in this butterfly stage of her life?
That's a beautiful question, and not an easy one to answer when speaking on self, naturally. I think that I am awakening to who I am meant to be. Yes. I think that I am divinely guided in my work, and that there's always a larger presence that is very much, it has a hand in all that is happening. And so there's a lot of trust, someone that trusts the path and the timing of her life. I think, confidence comes to mind, but I really, it's kind of a dichotomy. It's not the bought or sold kind. It's not the one that can be put into a little program and sold online. Yeah. It's not the one that it's curated perfectly, and there's a perception of a confident woman, and then you meet eye to eye and you're like, hello, are you there? With all due respect, we have a lot of that energy in our current way of being, and naturally with all of the online and everything that's available to us, the social medias, et cetera. Yeah. I just think that it's a confidence from lived experience. It's a confidence from, being in the fire and coming out, not unscathed, but different and better each time, and honoring that all of the tough stuff is going to formulate and lead us somewhere that maybe we weren't expecting, but is ultimately the best path for us going forward. So just who I'm meant to be.
Yeah, no, and it's clear.
And where I'm meant to be.
Like, and we speaking about ancestral intelligence, but like, this is the intuitive goal that exists inside each and every one of us. This is you broke it down so eloquently throughout this whole podcast, just speaking about the foundation of tools. And that I'm not perfect. There's some days where my connection to my ancestral intelligence is not so strong. Like my 100%. Wi-Fi is disconnected, but we have an inner awareness of knowing what we have to do to get to that space. And, the challenges are no longer setbacks in our journey. We see them as opportunities for growth or a doorway to deeper wisdom. So what advice do you have to folks, especially because we speak to a lot of educators in the school system that are losing hope, right? That their faith is being diminished. And I know when those qualities where they're questioning their purpose is disconnecting them to that deeper wisdom. So if anything, what would you share? Because we still need to have teachers in these spaces, but what can you say to them to support them in awakening into something greater?
That's such a tough one. And I think there's some tangibles naturally, and you want to answer it from that perspective. But I think it has to go back to something that we've mentioned here, which is, formulate a relationship with your younger self and recognize the pieces of you that are being triggered in these environments. The aspects of self that really are showing up at the job, that really you can give that loving mother energy toward, or that father, male or female, and just being present with that. I think that cultivating a stronger relationship with ourselves in the quiet at home and outside of those working hours is going to be the catalyst to being able to show up there in our full presence and weather the storms that we are going to face as educators in these environments. So I really do feel it's all comes back to, do I have grace towards myself? Is my inner dialogue one that is gracious and kind towards myself? And a lot of times we live in a culture too where we want to extend that to others so much, but the truth is sometimes that's a leak as well. Really setting that firm boundary. Do I have the best interest of my own inner child at heart here? Can I take care of their needs? And then from that space, I can go into other environments and I can offer that same love, that same graciousness, and that same respect, because that's really formative to us being able to give it to others.
She just created a zip file of everything she just shared earlier and just put it in a simple way to unpack, which is, it's the blueprint really does not change. What is life trying to show me in those environments? What am I to learn? How am I showing up? What do I need to change? It might be the diet, it might be the stillness, it might be the connection, but it really, and I love having these dialogues because it's like playing basketball. I might come from the West Coast or the East Coast. We're still putting the ball in the hoop, but how we dribble, how we shoot, how we play, slightly different, but the goal still remains the same. So now, away from the parents, right, coming into closing all this off, if you can offer just one truth to every single parent that is listening to this right now, what would it be?
One truth to every parent. I think that I would offer the truth of, I can't, I'm going to have to reiterate it.
It's fine.
I think that we
just
really,
trying to nail it down even further.
I think that whatever is coming through for us is an opportunity for us to connect so deeply with ourselves.
Can't make this up, people.
I'm sorry.
We ain't paying to say this.
I'm sorry. I just feel that it really, when I think about it, I think so much is healing can be revolving around that inner child work. And when our child or any child is showing up and is challenging us in a way, can we ask ourselves, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling hot, I'm feeling bothered, or I'm feeling, disrespected, and thinking back, when is the first time that I was made to feel this way? When did I feel that come up for me? And really sitting with that. I think when we are able to approach it from that perspective, we have a lot more compassion. Anytime our children in the schools or in our little toddlers in my environment are expressing something to us that is less than comfortable, it's an opportunity for us to try to understand with compassion what is really being shared here. What's the heart of the matter? So my advice, if I could bring it full circle, is let's not notice so much what's being said and what's being done, but let's try to understand what is being felt so that we can match that with the opposite emotion. We can be there for that child and support them, And I think that would be a wonderful thing for each of us to do in all the environments we enter.
Sound like the core principles of Montessori, the observation, the curiosity. And it's really like you might be doing the child's in the class, but it's like the same curriculum, like the way we do for parents, for educators, for youth. It's just a slight shift of how we speak, but it's like we know that these inner child wounds continue to plague us. So this is phenomenal. 100%. We are not going to do a practice due to the timing, but I think this is a potent and powerful conversation. And I really want to just end by asking you, right, in the next 50 years, based upon the work and the seeds you have planted in this earth, how do you see the future of parents, children, and education evolving due to the legacy that you have left behind?
My hope is that education continues to evolve as we do as human beings, understanding that we are not all going to be able to punch the clock in and out, and we know that future isn't here for us.
AI.
Right, AI is coming through, and so I think that we need to understand what our core needs are, and I think our education systems need to implement and understand some of those core needs of human beings, which is connection, community.
Yeah.
We need to understand the emotional needs of children, not that cookie cutter SEL either.
Yeah, it's just way to get in the door.
Just truly holistic, right? You know what I mean?
You right about it. And
just a little bit more heart-centered and really allowing for the needs of the child to shine through. Child-led education systems, some that incorporate nature, that incorporate these other alternative healing, doing sound baths with children and seeing the impact that it has. I would love to see that in all environments for children, teaching meditation to children, and also matching that with life skills, things that we don't get taught in schools. Having school systems that actually teach children what it is to balance a checkbook, what it is to checkbook.
Some stocks or some crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Getting a little bit more of that real life education paired with that emotional integrity that is necessary for an individual to move through life. I think that would be an amazing place for us to be.
Hey, what world do you want to live in, family? We have a choice. What world are we trying to create? We have a choice. And the embodiment is key. Hearing the wisdom from others who are walking a path is powerful, and really beginning to take the time to be still to listen to what it is that you need to do to move back into alignment. So Ms. Jamie, soul family,
so much.
sister, I think this is a great, powerful first interview. For those who are listening, man, please make sure you leave some feedback, some comments. We are tremendously grateful for everyone that is tuning in. Jamie, can you please let us know where people can learn more about your work and how they could connect with you in social media and the Well if they are interested to kind of learn more? And we're going to shout you out in the email and everything too.
I appreciate you so much. You can find me at The Well Belmar on Instagram and Facebook, and Jamie Coppa Music if you're interested in checking out some of my original music and sound baths. Yeah, I got a band coming together, so we'll be out in Asbury and a couple of local spots playing this summer. So I would love to see you and connect in that way or in The Well in Belmar.
Yeah, man. So Ms. Jamie, man, so grateful for this time. So grateful for human beings like you who exist in this world. And I'm grateful that those who are able to listen, who can integrate this, something that can empower them to awaken, to embody, and to transform. So if you're listening, please please subscribe, and please check out Ms. Jamie at The Well and really seeing the power, support her work. It is going to continue the growth and evolution of our next generation and continue to support and transform yourself. We appreciate you all. We care about you all.
And we love you all.
Have a beautiful day, family. Take care.